Mental illness affects 58 million Americans each year.
No one understands.
20% of students will have a mental illness sometime in their life.
Where are my friends?
I'm Sheriff Rick Bradshaw with a message about the importance of mental health. Over 3,000 people every day are in my custody. 20% of those people have mental health issues. The county jail ends up being the mental health institution that's the largest one in the county. But the trickle-down effect is this. We need to pay attention to the warning signs in our youth of potential mental health problems.
Who can help?
Mental illness is a global concern, having an impact in every country, in every community, and every school. It creates a challenge for employers, the armed services, healthcare professionals, teachers, and parents. Mental illness is the unheard struggle of all ages, especially the young.
We certainly live in a much higher stressful world than we did hundreds of years ago. You know, I think the industrialized revolution had lots of positives and negatives, and now we're in the computer age, and there's been a lot to say about technology. You know, I sort of call it the I generation, the iPad, the I me, the I.
Mental illnesses include depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. Of these, depression is the most easily identified.
Growing up, and especially high school, is extremely severely socially stressful. There's cliques and there's gangs and there's a million different things you have to navigate socially. When you're depressed, you isolate, you lose your self-confidence, you start becoming less related to your community, to your church.
So it is critical that educators, parents, and students themselves be made aware of the symptoms, the causes, and the treatments for mental illness. 20% of teens will experience depression before adulthood. 30% of teens with depression will abuse drugs or alcohol. Fewer than 1/3 will get help. Yet more than 80% can be treated successfully. Untreated depression is the #1 cause of suicide.
I think it's very important that regardless of what the statistics are, we know that there's a change, we know that there's an increase, and we know that it's more important than ever for all of us to be finding a way to educate our young people as to what they might be experiencing so they can understand it, to let them know that there are treatments available and that it is okay to go for those treatments.
It's estimated that 20% of students suffer from depression or other forms of mental illness that are severe enough to limit our ability to learn.
Only 1 in 5 teens receive treatment. 50% of those teens drop out of school, and some of the others return to drugs and alcohol.
And others are victims or perpetrators of bullying. We know these students. We live amongst them. We want our parents, administrators, teachers, and peers to understand what we're going through.
This film was first proposed by a team of mental health stakeholders meeting in Delray Beach in October of 2009. It was adopted as the first project of the Boca Raton Mental Health Advocacy Team, a service arm of Boca Raton's Promise, the Alliance for Youth. The team, composed of students, parents, teachers, and mental health professionals, planned the film to sensitize viewers to the nature of mental health problems experienced by youth, especially depression.
Well, these things are monsters. You know, they're going to stop your kid from going from a 4-year college to a 2-year college. They're going to make your kid say yes to the first guy who says, "Can I marry you?" instead of finding the right person to marry. They're going to make your child irritable and negative and critical towards their own children and not be the most positive parent that they can be. They're going to make your child live a poor quality of life, not just now, but for the rest of their life if you don't identify it and help them.
The need to educate citizens of all ages and all cultures about mental and emotional wellness has been recognized by cities in South Palm Beach County. Boca Raton, Delray Beach, and Boynton Beach each issued proclamations to support a South County mental health coalition. Communities are supporting schools in their mission.
It's not just the counselor and the teacher. It's everybody who's engaged in that with that child in supporting their education. You know, could be the crossing guard every day on the way to school, or it could be someone in the cafeteria who sees the child daily. If we can help children develop positive relationships with adults, they're going to cope better, and they're going to feel better about themselves and do better in school.
Oftentimes, student behaviors express their own issues or those of a family member. Because students and parents may not understand what they are experiencing, they may need help. Educators are often the first to notice the signs or red flags that help is needed. Bullying is just one red flag for schools. Substance abuse and depression are others. All are considered barriers to health and learning and indicators of the need for treatment.
We are addressing the issues first through our school-based teams, and hopes that the youth are identified by teachers that are seeing some changes in their behavior in the classroom, because they're the ones that actually work with them and see them on a daily basis, or perhaps from other students, their peers.
Depression, and in fact many mental health issues, can affect a student's ability to learn. So it's critical that teachers, parents, and students themselves understand the red flags. Difficulty concentrating or daydreaming. Difficulty in organizing or managing time, getting assignments and completing homework when it's due. Someone who becomes sensitive, cries easily, seems anxious, or has a low tolerance for frustration. A student who falls asleep in class. A student who has a poor attendance record. Or someone who is resistant to help, becomes embarrassed easily, or someone who just gives up.
I think any change in demeanor or behavior can be a red flag. Certainly change in appearance, where a student might not care about their appearance anymore, and they're not, as clean as they used to be, and they may be wearing the same clothes or wrinkled clothes, so that they really don't care about their appearance. Lack of focus and attention, sleeping in class. Certainly absenteeism is a huge one, can be a huge red flag.
While depression can occur in any child or adolescent, certain factors increase the risk of developing symptoms. They include family history of depression, other mental illness, or suicide, child abuse or witness to abuse, illness in the family or need for caregiving, sexual orientation, poor social emotional skills, or bullying. Clearly, the need exists to break down the barriers to all cultures and to identify students with mental health problems and to assist them in getting help. That may be easier said than done because many teens sense the stigma attached to reaching out for help, and parents may be too busy.
Parents are so hassled and harried and multitasking, it's very hard for them to find that time to really spend a one-on-one time with their children and understand and assess them from a mental health standpoint. They're obsessed with immunizations, they're obsessed with tuba practice, Hebrew school, and making sure their kid is going on travel soccer. But somehow this thing, which is a monster, mental health, seems to get like no attention.
Stigma is something that holds us all back. I know it did for me. I first learned about stigma and what ADHD and bipolar and all the above can do, and how it affects me and everyone around me when I turned 14. I'm 15 now. I'm a member of the ROTC. I go to Boca High. I've changed everything within a year.
As a teacher, no one prepared me for addressing mental health in the classroom. And nowhere in the curriculum are the needs of students with mental health issues addressed as well.
Having moved to the United States from Bulgaria at the age of 10, I know that there are a lot of subjects that are not discussed with students in American schools, and that is because of the stigma behind them. I think it's important to let the students know about the symptoms and the issues of mental health, because it is them that need the help most, and it is them that are most likely to be confused if they're experiencing these symptoms.
Depression contributes to 80% of suicides, and youngsters face an onslaught of contributing factors such as stress, bullying over the internet, parents who have lost their jobs and even their homes, and families that may split up for any number of reasons.
These things trigger. They're triggers. They are not things that actually cause somebody to become mentally ill, but when they have a bottom line of being troubled, these are the things that can push them over the edge. So that's why we're seeing more. The world's changing, and things are becoming more difficult for everybody to handle.
Florida's suicide rate is more than double its homicide rate, So it becomes vital that everyone who comes in contact with a troubled teen learns to recognize the signs of trouble and accept responsibility for understanding the importance and of being a good friend.
It's affecting every school, every community. You know, you're hearing rampantly on the news, CNN, Fox, pretty much daily or every other day a story about a child who's in distress or school incident. And at this point, it's turning even global.
No one understands this better than those who are living the experience.
A stigma is like a negative preconceived notion. I know because I've suffered from depression and I've been intimidated by stigma. Within your family, you might be afraid that they'll feel embarrassed by you. Among your friends, you might be afraid that you'll lose them. I first learned about stigma when I was in 4th grade, and I was afraid to tell anybody that I was depressed, and that I couldn't think about anything else but killing myself or running away. And it took me a long time to get help. I didn't get help until 9th grade. And from 4th grade to 8th grade, there was a big stigma. I didn't tell friends what was bothering me. I didn't tell my family what was bothering me. And I felt separated from everybody. And I didn't let anybody get to know me.
Friends was piloted in 2004 with staff at Loggers Run Middle School as an after-school social skills program, and later created for adaptation in elementary schools in Boca Raton. Friends expanded to 5 schools when funding was lost, but not the spirit. During the 2010 summer months, a dedicated team of 20 professionals and teens met at Sugar Sand Park to share stories, music, games, and pizza. They adopted a project to create a film, or DVD, for the South County Mental Health Coalition. They envisioned it as a tool that would explain the difficulties of students, educators, and parents in understanding mental illness and emotional needs in society, and how friends can make a difference when a person needs to break their silence. Let's take a look at a typical high school scenario developed by Friends.